Greetings and welcome to another edition of The Great Goddess. Praise be to Goddess. Praise be to Goddess. Well, here it is, another Wednesday and another day to tell you more about Goddess. And today we are going to consider 7 facts about the Goddess that you may not know. So, let's get started. Goddess always does what she feels is best for us. Now, this is a very salient point. Goddess always does what she feels is best for us, and Goddess should know because she has a super brain. She's super powered, and she has all of these thoughts, and she knows us so well. So Goddess can predict what is going to happen before it even happens because she has these powers. Not completely. We have free will, so she can't completely predict what's going to happen. But she has a pretty good idea of what's going to happen based upon what she knows about us and based upon her special knowledge of us. So Goddess does know what's best for us, and she'll always do what she feels is best for us, no matter what the situation. So, in other words, there's a lot of things that we don't need to ask for because the Goddess knows what we need and will give it to us if she possibly can. And if she can't give it to us, she'll let us know that too, because we'll find out right away if we're not getting what we want, that the Goddess won't give us what we want right away. She'll let us know. So we don't have to worry. Goddess is always doing her best for us. And so we don't have to worry about anything, even death, even on the verge of death. Goddess knows whether it's best for us to leave this plane and to join her, or whether it's better to stay here. So we don't need to ask. We don't need to ask Goddess because she already knows what's best. Now, that's not to say you can't ask for anything. You can certainly ask Goddess, and it does make sense to have a relationship with Goddess because you are a free will human being and you do have the ability to direct events in your own life. So it makes sense to have a dialogue with Goddess and to talk with her about what's best and what you're going to do next and what you would like from her. But that although that dialogue certainly can take place, Goddess still knows what's best for us, and so we should trust her to bring good things into our lives and not rely completely upon prayer or completely upon asking for the things we want, because she knows what we need and what to do for us because she knows us so well. To get what we want from Goddess, we have to ask her for it. Now, this is a very important point as well. Although she knows what's best for us, although she knows what's best, we still have to ask her for the things we want because she doesn't want to disrupt our free will choice. She wants us to have that choice and to exercise our free will as much as possible. So a lot of times she won't interfere. She does not want to butt in or interfere with our lives. So she will not necessarily give us what we want unless we ask for it, because she doesn't want to interfere with our free will choice. Now, that's not to say Goddess never will intervene in our lives, that she never intervenes, because she does intervene when she feels that it's necessary or for our greater good, or if she feels that we're in trouble, she might intervene on our behalf. But when we want something badly enough, we need to ask for it, because The goddess won't necessarily give us what we want on a silver platter. We have to ask her for what we want, and we need to put forth that effort to pray to her to get what we want in that situation. So it makes sense to pray to Goddess for the things that you want, because she doesn't want to interfere in our lives, and she won't interfere unless we pray to her, and then she will intervene if we want something badly enough, if we ask her for it. Goddess is more involved on an individual basis than on a global scale. And this is actually based upon a short debate I had with my friend Judy. We were discussing whether a creator or a higher power intervenes more on an individual or on a global scale. And she thought the creator intervened more on a global scale. Well, I had to tell her that the creator intervenes more on an individual scale than on a global scale. And the reason for this is because the global scale she leaves basically to its own devices. Humankind as a whole entity, is evolving, and we need to make decisions for ourselves, and we need to learn for ourselves. So basically, she leaves that to our own discretion. She leaves the global scale to our own discretion and lets the world take care of itself. The world's been taking good care of itself for a while now, and humans have seemed to be doing a pretty good job of it. So the goddess doesn't see any reason why she has to intervene on a global scale. Now, on an individual scale, she does intervene, and that's because she wants to be personally involved in our lives. And she does answer prayers, and she does listen to us, and she is involved in our lives. So she's more involved on an individual scale than on a global scale. And if you need any more proof, just look at the way the world has been going, and you'll see that it's completely random. It's just whatever people think is best, they do, and that's what's happening on a global scale. It's not now the goddess. That does not to say the goddess never intervenes on a global scale, if it's absolutely necessary. Like if there's Nazis or some really bad force, then she will intervene and set up a force to counter that evil force. She will intervene in that case. But given that there's no Nazis or any really bad force that needs to be countered, she definitely will not intervene on a global scale normally. And so you see randomness in the world, right? The wonderful randomness of the world and the weirdness and the way things go is all based upon what people think is best. And humanity's been evolving for a while now, so what people think is best has changed. But you are seeing what people think is best in the world, and not Goddess intervening on a global scale. Prayers are for us, not Goddess, because she knows what's best for us already. And this ties in with what we said earlier about her knowing what's best for us. She doesn't need our prayers. Goddess doesn't need our prayers to take care of us. She'll take care of us no matter what. She's always watching over us. So she doesn't need us to pray to her, because she knows what's best for us already and has always been involved in our lives. Whereas prayers to Goddess are for us. We evolve by praying. We become better people by praying, and we learn by praying. So it's a process for us. Prayer is a process by which we learn and improve ourselves, become better people. So the prayers are for us, not for Goddess. And we can learn a lot by the way Goddess answers our prayers. That teaches us something about ourselves personally, and we can grow and learn from that experience. We must live as good a life as we can. If we live as good of a lives as we possibly can, and if one is reconciled with Goddess, she will forgive any mistakes we have made. Now, this is an important point. Goddess will forgive mistakes we may have made, but we have to live as good of a life as we possibly can. We can't be messing up or slipping all the time. We have to really try really hard to live good lives. And then if we give it our all and try really hard to live good lives, then the Goddess will intervene on our behalf and forgive any mistakes we have made. But we have to be reconciled with Goddess first. We have to reconcile with Goddess. This is a thing that a lot of people don't know. They have to be reconciled with Goddess. And a lot of people aren't reconciled with Goddess. They don't know her, and they don't want to know her, and they would never accept a female supreme deity. They just wouldn't accept Goddess as she is, and so they're not reconciled with Goddess. So what happens when one is not reconciled with Goddess? If one is not reconciled with Goddess, the law of karma takes over. Now, I don't mean the conventional law of karma like we know in India, because the Hindu concept of the law of karma is full of flaws, as I see it. It's full of flaws. So, by law of karma, I mean something similar to the law of karma, where what you put out comes back to you. What you give out, you take in. So if you're not reconciled with Goddess, all of your mistakes will come back to haunt you. You won't be forgiven. You won't be forgiven automatically by believing on a name. That's not going to save you. If you do wrong and you do ill and you don't try to live a good life and you're not reconciled with Goddess, then all of your ills will come back to haunt you. I guarantee that you will be punished for the things that you've done. You won't be punished in excess of the crime you may have committed. You will only be punished up to the point of what you have done. So, and not beyond that. So you will be punished. That's the main thing to remember if you're not reconciled with Goddess and if you don't try to live as good of a life as you possibly can. Some people say they're trying to live as good of a life as they possibly can, but aren't doing a very good job of it. They're not telling the truth. Oh, see, they think they're living as good a life as they possibly can, but it's not very good. That's because they're not living as good of a lives as they possibly can, and they're liars, and they're wrong. But the Goddess herself can judge us. Only Goddess can judge who's lying and who's not lying and who's telling the truth and who isn't telling the truth. Usually a person can do very well on their own if they try, okay? You can be a righteous person if you try. So that's the summary of what happens to you if you're not reconciled with Goddess. If you're not reconciled with Goddess, the law of karma takes over in your life. How do I know what Goddess wants? Who am I to speak for Goddess? How do I know what the Goddess wants? Well, what I know is based upon my personal experiences in my life with Goddess, my personal experiences, and also what Goddess told me personally. Now, she didn't tell me a whole lot, but what she did tell me was enough for me to know quite a bit, quite a lot. But she only told me a little bit. The rest I learned through experience. So that's how I know what Goddess wants. But what she told me was a very rare occasion, and she only told me a few things which I will cover in a future video. But that's how I know what Goddess wants. It's been based upon my personal experiences with Goddess. and what she told me. Goddess is a liberator who makes us more free. She would never enslave us. And this is a very important point. I think the most important point we can make is that Goddess is a liberator. She doesn't enslave us. We're not slaves of Goddess. We're not servants of Goddess. She is our liberator. She makes us more free. So the whole idea of us being enslaved to a creator comes out of Christianity and being servants of a Lord that lords it over you. All of that comes from Christianity and Judaism, and it can psych you out. You can be psyched out by it, and by being a servant or being a slave even of the Creator. But that's not the case. Goddess is a liberator. She makes us more free. So take that with you and remember that today and always. And I wish you the very best and have a very pleasant day.